And welcome, everyone. We're really excited to talk to you guys today. We have another campaign countdown for you. We're going to be joined by, or obviously you can see, one of our first video. We always love to have a video component, so that's fun.
Cool.
But of course, my name is Michael. I'm one of the Wicked co-founders, and I'm joined by my fellow Wicked co-founder, as always, Matt.
How we doing, everybody?
And we have our first creator we ever signed on with us today to talk to us about his newest endeavor, a Kickstarter campaign that's really important to Ironverse Comics and just a really cool book. And so we're just really excited to talk to you today, Cody, about it. And so welcome to Wicked Studios. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I hope I'm coming through clearly and that
Yes.
everything looks well. I mean, I worked on the lighting a little bit. Do a little bit.
Nice.
Co,
Yeah, I like
you know,
that.
support animal here, and I'm always excited to talk about our work. It's and always grateful to spend some time with you two.
Oh,
folks.
good. Well, I'm very glad to hear that, man. And we're always glad to do the same. As you know, we said you were the first creator, but you're also one of the most passionate creators we have. And we just love to see your work and all the stuff you got going on. So very cool, man. Now, as always, before we dive into our conversation and going into the Kickstarter today, as always, I like to start with a little introduction just to give us, maybe people who are new or not as familiar with our creators, a little bit of an introduction on who they are. So, Cody, can you tell us maybe just a little about yourself and what you do with comics?
All right. I'm Cody Fernandez. I'm the founder of Ironverse Comics, the only Weird Space West imprint in comics. Been doing indie comics for, I guess, about 6 years now, if you count when I started. If you count when the script started, it's been about 15 years. It's been a wonderful journey with a lot of growth and a lot of learning. And I'm here to present a collection of that, the manifestation, the most up-to-date version of all the hard work that myself and our wonderful art team have put in. And I mean, I'm just I love me some indie comics.
Don't we all, man? Don't we all? Hey, but that's great, man. And it kind of makes me think about it. It's how long has it been now? I mean, obviously you've had the Jack Irons character for a very long time, but from the beginning of the real, very pre-production of the first issue, how long has it been? Do you think now?
Okay, so again, if you started scripts, then it's been like 15 years, and the scripts for 1 and 2 didn't change much into what you actually see and can get right now. But if you start like breaking into comics, that's kind of only been a couple years, honestly. If you start with the actual production of something and having a team, collaboration, actually manifesting a product, that's been about 6. I've been working with Max.
Wow. That's impressive.
It's been a lot, we've been working for a while.
You have.
Together and made some very cool work you can't really find it's like anywhere else.
And not only that, but it's struck such a chord with so many people. I mean, evidence alone by just the countless number of fan arts you have. I remember you've been posting a lot of those lately, and it's incredible to see. Like I don't think I've seen as much fan art for an indie comic as Jack Irons. Maybe Rags, but
it might be because I'm a little more shameless of sharing it. I love fan art. It helps fuel all these efforts, and it does. It shows, like you said, it shows this passion and this engagement with the character, with his image. I think there's something very amazing that Maxie and I were able to accomplish. That makes it a fun character to draw, right? And I think that's really important, because usually if it's a fun character to draw, then there's something visually stimulating. There's something about the icon of the character, what the character means that can resonate. And that's always my hope, is to get it to resonate with more folks, for readers, for artists, for colorists, for anybody. That's the point. I want to share this, and I'm glad that it's being accepted and enjoyed and then boosted. Right, that's an amazing thing.
Right, yeah, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time. It seems like every campaign, it seems like you think you've reached your limit, and somehow you keep breaking through the ceiling.
Yeah,
You
it's
know.
not. Our last campaign, for instance, that you folks are wonderfully fulfilling currently, and I keep seeing more and more photos of people
Nice.
finally getting their issues after a
Yes, that's
long and
awesome.
hard fight on that. For anybody who's been paying
That's
attention
great.
to
Yeah.
heard us previously, it's been a lot of stumbles. But nothing that could break what we're trying to do here, and I think that speaks to how important it is to the team, how important it is to you folks, and how important it is to our fans and friends who enjoy what we do.
That's very awesome, man. Now, this new campaign is a collected edition of the previous one, issues 1 through 3, and it's a hardcover edition, right? Is that correct? Are you offering just a hardcover this time around?
So what we're doing, because we ended up with basically double the print count that we had expected because of a bunch of shenanigans you folks are quite well aware of.
Yes.
Though some are of a lesser quality, and obviously lesser but still readable quality. We're offering those as well as an add-on. So I've been
Oh,
asked,
nice.
as folks are kind of looking through the campaign, some people prefer floppies, and you can't please everybody. That's something I found again and again and again. When I started, people want the trade, right? We'll wait till the trade, and now that we're doing the trade, people are asking for the floppy. I love it. Like, no, just do what you need to do and
Oh,
open up as
man.
many doors as you can, and then
True.
funnel in. So we, what I've been telling the folks who have asked that is, I have a publisher. We're going to be offering these issues through you guys again very soon, and that they can snag issue number 1. At least I still think we have some of the older printings left, and we'll start getting rid of those misprints at a discount here soon enough as well. Besides, as the add-on in the campaign, and it's going to be very easy to jump into Ironverse Comics as we move forward. But this hardcover edition gives us a couple amazing opportunities. For one, it allows us to present it in a form that is of everything that we've learned up to this point. All the fat cut out, the something that you'd be proud to put on your shelf and to check out more than once, before you wouldn't bag and board it and toss it into your
Mm-hmm.
just sits there, right? Jack Irons, as a story, I think is one that should be read a few times and to absorb the thematics that we are going to continuously be building on, because they're not. It's a set of dense ideas presented in the, let's say, the kindest way I could have. They're very heavy ideas, and they're very hard things, but I wanted to be a little bit playful with it, but not dishonest. And I think they're worthy of multiple reads, and I think that this format will allow that easier, and it'll just be it gives us an opportunity also to do something in the most professional way that we possibly can. We don't have to wait on production, except for the printing end. We don't have to wait on. We don't have to worry about artists leaving or going. We don't have to worry about any of the artistic end of production, except for assembling the cover, which I'm hoping to be able to show here very soon. Our art team's gotten pretty busy.
Okay.
And I'm just going to plug them because I'm very proud. Cannon and Maxi Dalla Art just last week had a short featured in Heavy Metal number 306. I really recommend.
So cool, man.
It's some of the most beautiful work I've seen them put out. It's got their trademark grittiness, but something that Steve did with the colors in that one, just amazing, just beautiful. And I'm a huge fan of heavy metal.
Yeah, can we talk about that for just a minute?
Excuse me?
Yeah, can we talk about that for just a minute? Because it is pretty incredible. Like, to be featured in heavy metal magazines, that's pretty amazing.
It's an old publication, and it's one that's always been able to put forward the more adult themes.
Yeah.
When you think of comics, people still think of the cape and cow superhero buddy with kids kind of book. Oh, we've definitely kind of stopped making those as consistently, and we've definitely moved more towards teens and adults as a Western comic kind of delivery. But they've never really shied away from that. And I think that's really cool that they've been able to keep together as long as they have. And the last couple of years, and I believe this year in particular, they've been trying to make a harder, stronger effort in really regaining their foothold in publishing.
That's cool.
Do it. I don't know if they can, but I mean, grabbing Jack Iron's wonderful art team wasn't a bad choice.
Not at all, man. It's yeah, no, not at all. And I mean, yeah, I have a lot of respect for them. Like you said, they're an old publication. They have a great history with putting out really thoughtful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not even just that. They did a lot of creativity back then. I mean, especially when you think of like the movies and the old school cartoons, they were a lot of the pioneers and frontiers for like darker sci-fi, more adult sci-fi as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'm just really stoked that door was opened for them, and I hope it opens so many more. They're 100% still committed to what we're doing over here, which is wonderful as well. And I'm excited to get on to issue 4. I'm excited to continue stuff, but I'm more excited to be able to prove that what we've built can be a professional, well-oiled machine instead of the seat of our pants cowboy that we've been, which is wonderful. We've been able to, and we've still, gotten by and been able to do what we need to. But there's something to be said of respecting the medium and being able to deliver something with that respect instead of almost expectations of, well, I'll muddle through, right? But I am exceedingly grateful we've been able to get this far, and that's part of what this is too. It's to show that we've learned and that we can do that on that better level. And hitting Kickstarter was to reach another audience as well. And from what I can tell, we are reaching different folks, which is really cool. Every campaign has gotten more backers up to this point. I don't know if that's going to be true with this one as well. It could be that the chaos of crowdfunding always has a bunch of doors open that a lot of crazy stuff could come through. But currently it's very slow and steady, and I'm exceedingly grateful that it's steady. So, yeah, I'm just excited for the future.
No, that's very awesome, man. And it's just cool. I mean, because what I think is really interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but was the first project that Maxie and Steve worked on together, was that Jack?
I believe so.
So imagine that you put that dream team together, man. That's you had to, I feel like you had to.
Max put that dream team together.
Really? Okay. Really? Okay. Fair enough.
I made sure it accepted, grew through it, and then grew to absolutely adore it. But to be honest, when we lost Machias in between the production of issues 1 and 2 for the colors, we spent a good 3 to 4 months trying out colorists and trying different things, and the folks I would find would have been serviceable. And like I had gotten to a point during that where I was like, let's just do it because we are stalling. We're not going to be able to get the books out on time. The production stalled. We're not moving forward. And that really bothers me. That's part of my job in all of this, is to make sure the production goes through and then out the door and reaches folks. And so that was egging on me. But as I've done from the beginning, I've known Maxie's artistic eye is incredible. And I know that you only get these one shots to really do the work you want to do. And I bet I could have convinced him to accept one or another colorist if it had come to it. But I'm so glad I didn't, and that we took the extra effort, and that he took his own time to find this guy and bring him to my attention so I could contact and see how things were. And Stephen Cannon has been an incredible addition to the team in a whole bunch of different ways. Yeah, again, I really hope that those two can continue to do a bunch of work. I'm going to give them as much work as they'll take from me, and I'm able to give them. But as far as other things go, man, I'm so happy they have that kind of published work. I don't know if either of them have comic work in any form that's been published like that. I know Steve has another crowdfunding work coming out that I have a short in called Kill Journal. I'm very excited to see more of that. 3 digital issues have been released. They're real fun. If you like horror slasher, you're not going to find a better indie comic on that spectrum. But Maxi, I know his previous work before he was working on Jack was mainly in Argentinian children books and such, because there's no comic market in Argentina. And he's done a couple like underground zines when he was younger that were kind of up in my area, which I've gotten a hold of. I'm going to have to review at least one of them here on my YouTube at some point, just to kind of show how wacky and stuff zines can be compared to more traditional comics, right? The real underground comic scene is a trip. But I mean, I'm so stoked that they were able to manifest that kind of published work. I would have liked to see more weight behind it, but then again, it's just a short. And heavy metal. I don't know who's like the muscle behind them currently, right? Like where
Really?
is with it's Warner Brothers. With Marvel, it's Disney. With Image, I think it's mainly Image. I would hope, but I'm not 100% sure. And heavy metal certainly doesn't have the weight that something like Image does, even though it even has a longer, more storied history, right? But I mean, I'm just excited. I think the future of comics is always going to be indie. It's always going to be folks coming in from the indie scene and then changing what the definitions of things are. And man, I'm glad to be my small part of it.
Hey man, I would say your part is getting ever growing ever bigger, man. Like I said earlier, so that's just really cool to see. So my hope is that this Kickstarter is one of the best so far that you've done. So I'm definitely hopeful,
The
man.
possibilities there till the last minute, right? So I'm very hopeful. We're about 2 weeks left. I think 15 days we just hit today. We've hit 47%, I want to say. So it's there, but it needs the pushes and it needs to get in front of eyes, and I need to communicate it as clearly as possible. And part of the reason why I'm here, and folks will have to continue to put up with my shameless marketing.
Hey man, I think we all enjoy
Probably
it. So
the rest of my career. So
hey, no worries there, man. We're all having a blast with listening to your thing. So no worries there, man.
I hope so. Otherwise, it's a little bit self-defeating. I don't think it is.
Well, why don't we go and take a look at the campaign here? I'm going to share the page here so everyone can take a look with us, and we can all walk along with it. As this here is from mature readers, it's kind of an interesting progression of the Jacksters. It started off, obviously teen, but it definitely I feel like has matured over the years. Not necessarily in themes, but just in terms of the violence, probably in the and whatnot.
Yeah, people's definitions are going to be all over the place, right? And
True.
That's my bit with this. Is like I don't want somebody trying to pick this up as a cowboy book for their 6-7-year-olds. Right?
True, that's a good point.
But me
Not only
personally, I would think any teenager could handle the thematic.
I think so too.
But,
definitely.
But the definition in literature and such would say otherwise currently, right? Like I would say a lot of manga and anime go a lot harder than Jack in some aspects, and they are enjoyed by folks younger than who I feel the need to target Jack to. But the comics code still exists, but it has no teeth, and the big companies don't use it. So it's a tough one to define. I just didn't want to be misleading because it definitely handles mature themes. There's gore, violence, drug use, alcohol use. We don't have much of a sexual theme in it, but there are hard themes and very gruesome depictions of death and violence, and so. That would be up to folks. This is definitely not a book that I'm targeting for parents to get their kids, and that's my main point for including that right up there. Also, it's a nice tagline, right? Folks who are looking for grit, you're getting grit when it says for mature.
Well, I also feel like it's also too much of the themes, like the trying to bring across are a little too complex for readers that young.
I think so too. I mean, there's some fun stuff you get. I mean, some kids start on slasher films and horror movies, and so they'll enjoy some of the gore and the violence and stuff that we have in there. But the gore and violence in Jack serves a very specific purpose. It does it. It's not like we were talking about slasher just a minute ago. It's not just to serve itself and to be a spectacle. It's to drive home some kind of point. And yeah, a lot of people, it might not be for them. This is it's a thinking book, but I want it to be fun as well. And so I think different people are going to get different things out of them, out of it, and out of the 3 chapters. But yeah, like I think it could resonate. I wrote it as a 15, 16-year-old. The entire genesis of it is from coming to terms from the wide-eyed childhood view to the more narrow, I'm going to say wise, but wisdom has a lot of different degrees, so don't take it as like super wise, but a wiser view of the world, because you have a greater awareness and understanding of it, and how much that weight can weigh on something and someone. And I mean, that's what I did, and I think it would communicate to somebody like me at that time. But I mean, I was the only person like me at that time, so safe to sorry.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like with Jack Irons, it's kind of like, you know, the old westerns where you have the lone gunman, the lone rider who's on his own, and you have the internal monologue of how he's feeling, and you've kind of almost taken that and taken it to the nth degree and saying, well, now he is alive for eternity, and the lone cowboy has to continue going on, and what happens then? And you know, it's interesting. I never really thought about that, but I don't know if that's something that was ever on your mind.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole genesis of the character was, burdening him with the entirety of humanity's negativity and good, and stick him with it. He can't he can't leave. There's no out. Wolverine has touched on that, but then they'll erase his memory so they can play with the clean state and just play with his abilities.
Right. Yeah.
Jack, there's no erasing him. Literally, that's like the foundation of his character. He's stuck, and the entire arc that we're going to be building over as long as folks will help us make them is going to be exploring that and getting through it and finding the footholds and the reasons why and the necessities of continuing on, even when you have a perspective of all of this that you are going to have to contend with. Either if it's in the past or it's in the future or it's in your actual life or just next to your life, trying to wake up in the morning and get up and do your thing, be you, and then go back without having to succumb to all of that weight.
Yeah, no, it's not only a relatable story, but you can kind of see how aspirational it could be as well. It's a very cool character that you've created here. I think that's why it resonates so well with so many different people.
That was part of the hope too, right? You build everybody. I mean, it was very shameless and very direct. I built everybody into him. So my hope was everybody could resonate with
And that's not easy,
though,
man. That's really not easy. You might think it sounds easy on the surface, but it really isn't.
No, and I've given like slices, minute bits of what that means in issue 1, really. A little bit in issue 3 and a little bit in issue 2, kind of, because these general themes everyone has to deal with. But
that's what the trades.
Actual Jack himself, we haven't explored that yet.
Oh, really?
Issue 5, we're going to hit it hard and
come back
to issue 1. But we'll see what we'll see how we.
Right? Yeah, exactly. That's a different stream for a future date. So they're talking about the trade paperback, and speaking of which, of course. Why don't we dive into that and take a look at what you're offering up here this time around?
Yeah, kept it simple. That was part of this.
Yeah, I was curious if we were going to keep it bare bones this time around.
Again, the last campaign, way too many balls in the air. I'm still juggling. I should not have even put on the table. It's wonderful that we were able to manifest all these different things and that I can juggle these things, but it didn't serve the purpose I would have wanted it to, and it took energy away from the expression that needs to continue to grow. Yeah, definitely wanted something simpler, professional, not confusing, and kind of direct.
Well, no, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially since you're doing a collected edition like that. I think it just kind of makes sense in this situation.
I mean, if we were to somehow blow the campaign away with enough time to actually announce and work towards stretch goals, there's opportunities for some extras, some interesting things. But for now, keeping it simple and seeing if its own merits and directness can carry it. And so far, yeah, more than it could have, less than it could have, but definitely more than it could have, considering all the other factors from our previous work.
Well, that's awesome, man. So let's go take a look here. Then the obviously you can support. You don't have to if you're just wanting to back the book and see it come to life. No matter how much you can pledge, you can do a support here, and that's honestly any kind of donation like that really helps out. They all add up in the end.
There's a cool one thing that was really neat about Kickstarter is that there's a bot, I think, that is a charity, and it gives $1 to every creative campaign.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was really cool. It kind of made me feel welcome, even though it was just a robot.
Yeah, really.
But
that
yeah,
is kind of nice, dude.
That's kind of neat. And so obviously somebody donates to it, and then they take those funds and donate them out.
Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? I like that. Yeah, and that just goes to show. Even like I was just about to say, even $1 adds up because $1 now you have $10. You have 10 of those. Now you have $100. It really adds up, honestly. So
every bit is a brick in the building we're trying to make.
Exactly, man. Yeah, it really is. It's the whole thing of crowdfunding. That's what it's all about. And so here we have the first offer. Here we have the support Ironburst Comics. What can you tell us about this one here?
It's basically the donate anything you want, except for specifically $5.
Okay, and this is like a donation, but this is Ironverse branded donation.
Exactly.
So if you want to be, exactly. If you want to be the Famine Inc., if you want to really, donate through the right, through the right channels there, you donate to that one.
Yeah, which I believe you folks are the backer that's on there. So thank you.
Oh, nice. That's funny. All right, so we got our next one up. This is our digital one. This is our true first tier here, which is a digital tier. And so this one I'm assuming is looks like all 3 issues here are these single kind of digital floppy, quote unquote floppies.
No, they're going to be combined just like the graphic novel with this digital cover.
Very cool.
And so it's going to be a little bit bigger, but. Another thing about this is this is the origin trilogy. This was our opening statement for Jack Irons. The 3 issues are best read close to each other, and so being able to put them in one volume is kind of important to me. Though we try very hard to make each issue relatively standalone so that you'll get something out of it without having to read the previous or the next. The messages that we're working towards, the communications and resonances that we want to present are best presented in these 3 issue arcs. We're going to do a volume 2 that's going to be 4 through 6. A very similar idea where each issue is separate, but collected as a whole, it has a better meaning, a stronger resonance, and a better idea. But you're not losing out if, say, you found issue 3 in a bargain bin at a comic shop and you decide to pick it up because it looks cool. You still get a pretty cool self-contained Lone Ranger and Tonto story. That's kind of the idea.
That's what I think is so cool about it is it really is almost like you finally get to binge the 3 the 3 stories we have. You get to get them all in one sitting and see how they really all connect and play together. And not only that, but it's such a great jumping off point for new readers who haven't read it yet.
100% the idea, and again, something that you're more willing to keep on your shelf and maybe pick up again and again. Rather floppy, which can be maybe read once and collected, or simply collected. But most of our backers, not all of them, have been readers. They wanted to read the books. They just have their preferred formats. This is some folks' preferred formats, and I've seen the printer's previous works, and you folks have as well, in this hardcover format, and they're really nice.
Yes, they are.
Very shiny and clean, and I think we can make a very cool showing, something you'll actually be proud to have supported, and extremely proud to have supported, something you will pull off the shelf just to stare at the cover. And that's with the digital, what we're doing there is just making it easily accessible. It's going to be a smaller file format, which we've learned how to do so that it can fit on devices a little bit better,
Nice.
load better, all that. But it's going to have the cover that you're only going to be able to get through the hardcover on it. So you'll have that unique bit of the digital that nobody else will. And we're going to throw in as many extras as we can. I've already you're going to get a book from the Mythoverse, which was really cool. They've donated that. You're going to get a Ideal Comics issue, which is really cool. And you're going to get some other digital extras, including some music tracks from my buddy Laguna Muta, who's been doing a lot of our music here on Ironverse Comics YouTube channel. And, of course, through Laguna Muta. If you folks want to check him out, please do. Always support indie artistry. That's my biggest reason why I do anything I do is I want all of us to be able to express our individual voices and have them be heard over the corporate cacophony. That's how we can do it. I mean, we support each other.
That's true, man. It's true. It's very true. And love Laguna Muta. He just put out a really awesome album. Chuck, he just fulfilled his Crowdfunding campaign on that recently.
I was so proud that was successful. It's a beautiful album. I do recommend folks check it out when it goes public. I'm sure I'll be shilling it.
Nice, yeah.
Contemporary message about loss and grief and moving forward, but with hope and mystery and just so much family love. He poured his heart and soul into it, and sometimes you can't find artistry like that without keeping your ear to the ground of the independent scene. It's the only way in a lot of cases.
Yeah, he definitely had a truly unique and very strong vision for the album. It has a very strong through line from beginning to end, and it's truly an experience you want to, again, kind of like with the Jack trade paperback, you want to sit down and you want to listen to it all in one sitting, really.
That's how I first experienced it.
Same here.
Last track, there was a few tracks that really got me.
Yeah.
I have a personal history with him, so I have some of the vibes that's gone in, but even still, there's some resonances there that I think are so very human.
Definitely.
Gonna really, swell hearts, swell tears, and definitely folks should check it out.
Yeah, he's a great musician, man. I get why you continually come back to work with him as we do the same ourselves. Yeah.
His Western tracks are really fun. Again, you'll hear a lot of them on our YouTube, Ironverse Comics. But also, check out Laguna Muta. Just look it up. Nobody else has named that. You shouldn't have a hard time finding it.
Awesome, man. Well, yes, and then moving on to the first physical tier here. This one has our collected hardcover edition. This one is the star of the show, as you could say.
Yes. And it's basically, there's only 2 digital tiers, and the other one's just more of this. It's going to be 96 pages, which includes the 5 covers that we've had as chapter breaks and intros. And so there's going to be a page or 2 for thank you or something. If we were to hit massive stretch goals, my dream is to include some of the shorts we were unable to include in issue number 3 and issue number 2 and so on. But I'm not putting that foot forward until we have a stronger foot forward on the actual manifestation of this as is. The hardcovers I've received from this printer have been about 64 pages, and so they're not bad. They're bound really well together, printed really pretty, all that. But I want to do something a little bit fatter. If I had my dream, it would have included all of these things, right? And in fact, Jack Iron's origin arc, when I wrote it when I was like 15 and 16, was 144 pages, the standard graphic novel kind of intro length. We've had to learn and adapt as we grow and understood this. And so I think this is the right pocket in terms of affordable to produce, and yet enough value that it's still worth collecting. So what it would be is our volume 2 would be about 96 pages as well. And
I think that's pretty good, man.
Volume 3, and what we want to do is fund the individual floppies, release those, and then once we've hit the 3 arc, collect them, and do this again. That would be the business model that would be the most efficient and best for me currently, unless Patreon would be the most efficient and best. But that one's a tough sell for a lot of angles. Just like Kickstarter could be a tough sell to a lot of people as well. Crowdfunding in general can be, but it is the only foot in the door folks like me have. And
Not only that, but when you're producing comics on such a high level like yourself, you kind of it almost necessitates it at some point.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's if I came from like a more monetary background, I probably wouldn't even have interest in making this. But what we do is we pay our artists extremely well, above industry standard. I might even be above what heavy metal gave them. I haven't had the courage to ask. But, and we try and give them the space to create as they need to. I really do with Jack, because I believe the team being able to put their heart into it's going to make it so much greater as a whole than
Wow.
any of my tunnel vision ideas could ever have made it. There's some places you got to put your foot down, but there hasn't been any that have been artistically related. They've all been business related or harder decisions I've had to make on maybe production ends, but nothing on the end of what the expression needs to be. And I want it to be fun. I want it to be pure, and I want it to communicate the ideas how I communicated it to them, right? And because that right there's me trying to communicate my idea, which is the point of storytelling, trying to communicate. And so if I communicate it to them and they get something out of it that impresses me and surprises me, then that just means it boosted the signal. And my goal is to get that signal as powerful and as strong as possible, so that as many people can hear, see, read, enjoy, and share it as possible.
Well, hey man, you're doing a great job of it. I think your team would agree with that. Your team seems to really enjoy working with, from what I can tell.
They seem to, that, yes indeed, but I got to keep earning it. I'm not going to forget that.
Fair enough. Yes, that's always a good lesson, I think, for anyone in this industry. Always got to earn it, man. That's for sure. Now, is that the so it looks like then there is another tier after this year. Is this our final tier?
That is the final tier, and it's a bulk. You get 5 issues at a discount to put up in your comic shop to see.
Nice.
Or if somehow the speculator market actually takes interest in Jack Irons as a property, then maybe the hardcovers are worth something. I've seen Common America hardcovers go for quite a bit. So there's always possibility that you are playing that fun little investor speculator game here. Which
True.
I'm here to. I got to embrace all of comics if I'm going to succeed in comics, and that is
Very
a big
true.
part of Western comics, is the collector's market and just that, and the speculators market. A lot of people just make their money out of that, and I hope they can continue to, because it boosts comics. It can suck when you're trying to get a hold of a really old issue that's kind of obscure and it costs a ton, but that's kind of part of the price and the history of it, right?
True. That's kind of how the game works. Yeah.
And that's how any kind of commodity works. So it's just, you're not going to avoid that if you're working in any kind of market. So
yeah, true. Might as well embrace it. Yeah.
We just make as many versions. You try and make sure that the stories are always available to readers, but then you try and make exclusive, unique things for the folks who want that as well, and hope that they also enjoy the stories and keep coming back because of the stories and because of the value you gave them.
No, yeah, that's a good model to do. Yeah, and I think this is gonna be a really interesting one, just because of we talked a little about how beautiful these books are gonna be, but it's I don't know, it's interesting. I'll read a single issue comic, but it's not something that I necessarily collect or something, just because when you collect a trade paperback, I feel like there's just so much more. Like, you can put that on your shelf and it looks so beautiful, and you can put it with your other books, and I don't know, it just looks, it's really nice to be able to collect something like that. I don't know, there's something
I've
more
always
to it.
been a trade guy too, because I like
Yeah.
I like to pick up the book and read it, right, and just partway through and pick it up the next night, whatever.
Totally.
So I really enjoy manga because they focus so heavy on that. That's
Interesting.
what you get is those volumes, and that's what we're trying to adjust to by also keeping the American spirit in there, by making it collectible and making it kind of exclusive and pretty. Keep that angle into it instead of going for cheap, small, but a lot of content. I wish we could produce that amount of content, but we just aren't there. So you work with the tools you got, and you work towards better tools. That's just one of the things that keeps me going, and so far that's worked. Um, yeah, I'm excited. I really want to put this on my shelf. I want to be able to really hold on to this for a long time. You know, I started with my whole reading journey. Right, a lot of our reading journey started with children's books that are presented like this, that hardcover format. That's a little resistant. They usually get messed up when you're dealing with really little kids, but the idea is that it's sturdier, it's tougher. It'll stick with you. And sometimes we are able to keep those children's books and then read them to our kids. Now, this is not that, as we spoke of earlier. You're not going for that, but maybe you are. Maybe this is something you give to your teenager or your young adult who's having trouble. One of the big themes we hinted on it. Anybody who's kind of listening and reading between the lines, I mean, depression is a huge deal. And a lot of us really come into understanding and dealing with it in that transition. And writing Jack was one of the ways I got through it. And I think a lot of the heavier themes I deal with, I want to make them seem manageable, because they are. Um, they're not always defeatable, but they are manageable, understandable, and you can live with them without feeding them, and even maybe working against them, becoming that counterculture, becoming that Jack Irons, and that's a big part of it. I would love to have a bunch of sturdy versions of this tale out there. I think you could do a lot of cool stuff, and if nothing else, it's a really cool looking book.
Exactly, and who knows? Maybe you can stop a bullet if you were on your around your chest, perhaps.
I definitely will not confirm that, so don't
I
try me.
wouldn't recommend it. No. Uh,
But certainly it's possible. I mean, if you go for the comic shop bulk and it's the low caliber from a
there you go.
distance.
Make yourself some Jack Irons armor there, man.
There you go.
Oh, that's funny. But speaking of armor, of course, Jack Irons has his own armor there, and it really kind of makes him. I'm not sure we've talked too much about this. I'm sure you've probably talked about other streams, but obviously it really sets him apart from other cowboys. He's covered in plate mail armor. It looks like some sort. What can you maybe tell some of the inspiration behind what kind of went into that?
Absolutely. So I didn't really know it when I was writing it, but the more I've read and been involved in comics and involved in storytelling and writing, what I was doing was trying to smash icons together to make something, again, harmonies to boost the frequency, right? So
Mm.
this two very Western powerful icons. The American cowboy, which is an icon. It's a myth. It's a folk tale. And then there's the knight, and it was kind of a
Oh.
combination of that I was putting the chivalrous,
Oh, wow.
good, powerful, noble person, and then putting into a rough and tumble, but usually good, but hardy, salt of the earth kind of person. Putting that together, and then
That's cool.
the
Yeah.
post-apocalyptic theme. You make it, you ground it more. You take the polish and the sheen off of that knight. You make it beat up. You make him the one that had been out there for a very long time, without his squire. You try and you add, again, trying to ground it more. Grounding is very important to me in these tales, because all the themes we're dealing with are very much rooted in existence. It's not like super heady tales. This is stuff we've been grappling with since we could grapple with anything. Um, and I mean, our four themes, the Four Horsemen, the Pillars of Ironverse comics, those are all things that we've been dealing with for a very long time. War, death, progress, in that case manifested as science, and business, greed, lust. Um, those are very difficult themes, but you need to have them grounded, and then you need to have uh, uh, a figurehead, something that can be believed in, and that was those icons, and that's what my child self was smashing the action figures together and seeing what happened. It's that idea, just trying to make these icons, these things that can rise above and understand and exist with, and maybe even contend with. That's what, and that's really what the armor is from. The Armored Cowboy is, it was kind of trying to communicate this to the Western mindset of this lone hero, that the image of the cowboy isn't always a hero, but it is self-reliance. And then you have knights, armor, soldier, warrior, protector, the positive patriarch, right? That was the armor. He doesn't need this armor, as folks find out.
Yeah.
He doesn't need it at all. It's
Yeah.
part of his icon, his symbol. And yeah, it's helpful.
That's really interesting, man.
Stuff, but he could take it.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating.
Not practical. It's part of the show. It's
wow.
If you think of My Hero Academia,
yeah,
a beautiful resonance of that. Always a smile on his face, even when he's getting his ass kicked and he thinks he's going to die. He is going to be that icon to inspire, and that matters a lot to me. And when I was a kid, I think I needed that, and so I made that.
That's pretty cool, man. That's really interesting. I never really knew that, but it's pretty amazing. It totally makes sense. I get the iconography makes so much sense. Yeah, when you look at it.
Now, my original idea was this almost bolt metal trench coat.
I remember that. Yeah.
Max had his saying it, because he has reduced the icon's complexity, which makes it more accessible, and he's also made it grittier, which makes it more grounded. And I honestly, again, without our art team, Jack Irons would. I mean, I'm pretty stubborn, and I might have found another art team, but I don't think anybody could have communicated it like our teams have. And that includes going from the colorist in issue 1, which was done about, the line art was done about 4 years before we got to issue 2's line art, right? So there was a lot of growth between Maxie as an artist, a very young artist, in fact, between then and then even between issue 2 and 3, there's been growth, and he's kind of changed how the icon works, and he's grounded Jack even more by giving him a beer gut. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting bits that and it adds some humor and some levity to this very heavy situation.
Wow, that's cool.
Again, I don't think I've been very blessed to walk the path I have into comics. That's the best way I can put it. I'm very thankful.
Yeah. No, yeah, you've I can understand that you've worked with incredible people, and you've produced incredible work as a result of it.
Wow,
so it's kind of feel good.
Which is, you can make all you want. If you can't get it out to folks, then it's self-serving. That's fine. That's absolutely perfect. You should be making art for yourself. But this particular piece of art, the idea, it's not just for me if I can have it any other way.
And it feels like it's a big story that demands the audience, to come to it, in a way.
I think so. I hope so. And I hope it will continue to. It has.
And here we have the first couple issues that we put out. These are the original covers, I believe, right?
Yes, which we are re-releasing here soon. We've actually reworked them with the new trade dressing, so the
nice.
are different. So anybody who was on us from the beginning will have a very limited print of a first and second issue of Jack Irons, which, again, if we can earn the speculator market's eye, that could be incredible, and I would hope that could help some folks out. But nonetheless, I've noticed my art team just loves the new trade dress so much better. I guess these were a little too busy for them.
Oh, really?
This is why I don't work with the artist. I don't have the artist's eye, I trust it. And what I've been looking at is that this more. I'm going to say simpler. It's very similar, but I don't know. It makes a softer impression, which isn't a weaker impression. It's a gentler impression, I guess is the best way to say it. And people who resonate with that will click on it. And I think that's another big bit of Jack, is he'll do what needs to be done, but it's a gentle character. It's a caring character. It's just a character that has to deal with the entirety of necessary empathy of mankind, and that's not easy.
No, definitely. Yeah, that's understandable there. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm really glad to hear that that they're really enjoying those new the new setup there on those.
Yeah, so I'm excited. That's going to probably be the digitals that you folks will be selling here soon. Once we
Nice.
get, we had to reorganize the credit page a little bit too, doing little things that
Okay.
yeah. For instance, you know how we have the first printing, second printing. We had to change that, right? We're doing that so that we're ahead of the game for when you folks want to do that next printing, if we need to.
Very nice. Very nice.
Right.
Now, one thing you gotta tell us, you gotta spill the beans on. Are we gonna see? Are we gonna see a return of our friend here on the right, our bar drinking buddy? Is he gonna be coming back after issue 3 here?
Well, I hope so because he's the reader. But no, in the story, I'm not 100% sure. In issue number 4, um, we're shifting to a more traditional storytelling,
Oh,
um,
okay.
more of a linear storytelling. So at the end of 3, the last few pages, maybe the last 5 or 6 pages, you're transitioning through that, and then we're just picking up right where it drops off, which is kind of what we did from issue 2 to issue 3, kind of similar, but we're moving that uh, drunken communication of an origin a little bit to the side. Now, I think he will probably return. There's no reason not to. I love the character. And again, it's a reader stand-in. Originally, it was supposed to be me as a stand-in. That's what was Max's
Nice.
intention. I'm gonna put this guy next to him. Do you want me to make it you? I was like, do something. That's fine. I like it.
Do
I like having
something.
go for it. Go for it. But yeah. So it wasn't. But that was the whole point. As it stands into the readers, the Forrest Gump thing is what I was really taking with the story writing in that first one. Is just random people showing up and listening to this weird guy talk about his life.
Oh, that's funny.
And he finished that purpose at the end of issue 3. He's told the tale. He's like, well, will you come back and listen to more? And if you will, and we see issue 4, then we don't really need that reach for the reader to the same level.
Right, okay, because they're
But
invested in it now at that
yeah,
point.
that would be my hope. That would be my hope. But yeah, I really like issue 4's script. I love the concept I'm trying to tackle, and I like the characters and the dynamics that I explore in it. So we'll see if that's enough to carry it. Taking all of the lessons I've learned and kind of putting it into a new script is exciting, and trying to make it some of the sitting on a bench talking to folks, Forrest Gumpy bits were slow for folks, right? So I'm
Hmm.
trying to make sure that we are still hitting the notes we need to, while growing its ability to engage the reader and engage more readers. And so we'll see with issue 4, which however this goes is probably the next thing we're going to do. But if this goes crazy, which again, chaos crowdfunding, 100% potential. Well, not 100% potential. Well, yeah, actually, no. There's 100% the potential for it to go crazy. There's no chance that there's nothing working against it on that angle. The doors are open, right? But we would love to put excess funds straight into issue 4 so that we can do
Very
again
nice.
a more professional release of issue 4 as a floppy. If it was to go absolutely crazy, I'd love to jump right into volume 2, but that's like 30K over goal, which would take about a miracle at this point. But I'm open to miracles, folks. If you got one, let me know. But
We've seen miracles with Ironbirch comics before.
we have issue 3's existence in its whole fact is one of them. So again, I'm not discounting it at all. But right now, I'm trying to plan more practically because in all the previous campaigns I would do a range, or I would basically I was shooting with a shotgun and hoping to hit the target. And each time I did, because I was shooting with a shotgun. I'd rather be a precision sniper and hitting that point, and economy of time, economy of energy, economy of effort, and economy of respect. And that's kind of where I'd like to transition if we're able to. And that's what this is testing the water for. And so far, it's gotten good response. Honestly, the first day was incredible. We broke 1,400 the first day, and it's just been continuous since, and mostly new readers since the first day, which has been wonderful. I'm really excited to get those books out to folks, and hoping they'll stick with us, and that they'll continue to enjoy what we're doing. And I do.
I think we all do, man. And I think I think it's cool. You said something you talked a little about issue 4 there, but I think you said something really cool for issue 4, which is that in the first 3 issues that we're getting with this hardcover edition here, you're getting the introduction of Jack, you're getting the introduction of his world, and we're also getting introduced in some really interesting key players like Tracker and some other really characters that are going to become really important going forward in issue 4 and beyond. And so it's like you've been sending so many things up that are about to come to a head that it's like things are really getting good right now in Jack.
Yeah, I think so. With issue 1 through 3, again, it was his mind, his world, his history, and the beginning of his journey. Basically, a proposal for folks to help us continue it. With issue 4, 5, and 6, we deal with issue 4 is I don't want to. It's going to spoil the structure, but
no, we can't spoil here. But of course. But needless to say,
it's based on a very old tale. A lot of Christian themes made it into 1 through 3. Sacrifice, redemption, the 4 horsemen, a lot of those kind of thematics. With 4, 5, and 6, we're dealing with a little bit more Eastern philosophies and takes. And issue 4 hits that right on the nail, right from the start. And anybody who maybe has studied theology from that spectrum they'll see where I'm going. But I completely flipped the script on the story. It subverts expectations if you were going to do that. And for any other reader who's just going into it, I think it's a very valuable tale to be told, and I kept the core of it. So I'm excited to see how that's received, and I'm really excited to see how it looks and is produced. There's some characters in there. Their iconography is going to be very cool when we get to it.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, that's always the question. That's always the thing with Ironbridge Comics. It's not a question of if, but when, really.
That is our damn tagline.
Yeah.
When reality belongs to evil, heroes are inevitable. So
very true, man.
It's just, it could take some time.
Exactly. Inevitability isn't quick, man. It doesn't always come right away, but that's the whole thing. It's inevitable. Yeah. Exactly, man. Yeah. No, and I think that's what not only draws people to the character of Jack Irons, but also to you as a creator, to be honest with you. It's your tenacity, it's your determination, your grit. I think you and Jack share a lot of qualities that people resonate with.
It's hard to separate the things. Again, it was trying to express some craziness in my mind at a hard time, and so it's going to be hard to separate that. Nonetheless, the goal again is to express. I guess if I had to put it into one word, it's empathy. The entirety of empathy and what it would mean to be empathy.
Wow. Yeah,
it's very there's a lot there, right? To accept and care for, even though, and there's a lot of though. Yeah. So I mean, that's how I've approached my life. I've had no other path that I'd liked to take. There's things there, but I am so glad. There's a lot of weight that is put onto me because of that. Folks who are inspired and join me and tell me, well, I can make comics now because somebody like you did, and I see how hard you work, and if I can work that hard too, then maybe I can do. That means a lot to me. It means a very, very much to me. And I want to continue to earn it, respect it, and grow it, because that can only reverberate to other folks. And again, I want as many voices to rise and to be heard, because that's how we'll figure out any of this.
I think a lot of people are looking to you for inspiration and kind of saying, not just that, oh, look, he can do it too, but saying, I never even thought I could do it. And so it's like it's almost like making them realize that maybe they have more than they thought they could offer. And it's pretty cool.
That's the point of this. I mean, it's course, to make art, to share comics, to share the love of the medium and the passion of this medium. It means so much to me because there's a collaborative effort in it. In my case, that means a lot. There's a direct storytelling bit, which uh, it circumnavigates a lot of the troubles that film or novelizations have, and allows different ways to communicate something very clearly that those mediums may not. Video games as well may not be able to. I'm going to keep at it. And so far, people have asked, and do you have any other ideas outside of this? And really, I could, yeah. There's a lot of tales I could tell the same story in a different way. But at the end of the day, the Gestalt idea of Ironverse Comics is where most of all my storytelling ideas come from. The rising up, the counterculture idea that people have kind of seemed to forget what counterculture is.
Yes.
And that what it really means on a individual and yet collective manner, and the respect and all that's built into this. So like I could do a tale about that outside of it, but then I'm leaving behind something I've already done. And so I'm happy to do stories and stuff outside of it. Like again, I have a wonderful short in the Kill Journal I'm excited to see manifested that has nothing to do with anything I've ever done previously. And I have I've worked with a couple other folks on some goofy stuff that I'm looking to see manifest here soon enough. That again doesn't have anything to do with those core tenets. I'm happy to do that work, but it's never gonna drive me like Ironverse Comics does, and the wonderful people I've worked with Ironverse Comics do. They drive me, and our fans drive me, and that core is kind of where I can reach to find the strength and the ability to manifest the work.
That's pretty amazing, man. Yeah, it's definitely really cool what you guys have been able to build here, and I just really hope you guys can continue to go up and up from here.
I mean, I don't think there's anywhere to go but up, unless up or some craziness outside of my control were to manifest, which has happened and yet moved forward. So
you gotta continue to keep going, man, just like Jack Irons himself.
Yep, exactly. Again, you don't have a choice, and that's built into it. That's the bit. You can lament it, you can want something different. At the end of the day, you shouldn't have a choice because you have all of this stuff around you to honor and respect and love that you're given and love that you can share.
Not only that, but it's like Jack Irons, just like Jack Irons himself, he could choose to put his head in the sand and pretend like nothing's going on and there's no problems, but that really wouldn't help anything, himself or otherwise, you know?
Yeah, and he does a little bit, right? That's the whole drinking bit.
True, yeah.
and anybody who follows superheroes know if you have a healing factor or something, you don't really get drunk. So I'm hoping they can connect that subtle level. There's a lot of subtlety to Jack Irons and the communications into it. Again, I hope people read it again and again because I believe there's layers upon layers to delve into upon what the communication we're trying to achieve is, and all of it's with respect, and all of it's with this open hand to walk you through. None of it's trying to shove something down your throat, because that's not the purpose of it. In fact, it's anathema to it. If you don't like it, you don't like it. That's totally fine and understandable because it is not it's not direct. It's subtle, and it tries to be playful, but it's certainly not direct in your face. And some people really need that to get messages, and others need the subtlety and the slow learning process. I'm one of those folks, and so we'll see as it goes and grows. Just got a notification that somebody just received their campaign issues, and that's wonderful. I hope they enjoy their reads.
That's awesome, and yeah, it's exactly right. We're currently fulfilling the floppies for issue 1 through 3, and hoping to get those out to all the backers as soon as possible. New shipments going out every week.
Yeah,
and so definitely, definitely post pictures online if you guys get your books in.
it means a lot to me. It helps reinforce that what we're doing is actually manifesting in the real world, right? I don't physically handle these issues. These two wonderful folks, and sometimes some other helpers do, and I'm super appreciative of it. You know, there's a psychological disconnect, and then when I see the readers have them and then express their enjoyment with them, it makes my day. It's such a good feeling that these folks who believed in us, put their faith in us, are getting rewarded for that faith and belief, because that's how we can continue to do it. And I mean, you don't have to, don't feel pressured to do it or anything, but if you can and you want to, it makes my day.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, man, so we've talked a lot about the story itself and whatnot, but I was curious if you had any thoughts on the specifications, like the print side of the book. Is there anything you can tell us at this point about maybe, you know, any kind of like what the paper's going to be like, or the textures, or have you kind of gone to the thought process on that at all yet?
I wanted to do this professionally, right? So I got the quotes ahead of time, which is
Nice.
very smart. You do that.
Good advice there, man.
Again, seat of your pants can only work if you're very lucky. Well, and capable and tenacious and all that. Nonetheless, if folks have backed basically anything from Iconic Comics recently, or bought anything from their web store, it's going to be very similar to that. We're working with the same printer and got the. In fact, I got the same specifications as their Common America 3 hardcover set. So it'll be pretty much exactly like that, except a little bit bigger. Nonetheless, I don't have the exact. I could dig up the you know the stock, the paper stock, and all that. But we're going for what's called it's got a special printing name, but it's a loose binding. So when you open it, it's not bound to the back of the spine.
Oh, good. I like that.
Peel that out, and our double page spreads will line up really good.
Yes, that's awesome, man. Yeah, because I've had some comics that I got from some of the bigger publishers, you know, and sometimes when they're so close to the spine, you can't really read the pages very well. Like, it gets lost.
Yeah, and sometimes even word bubbles will be in there, and I've had that happen as well. And so I spoke a great length. These folks have been very kind. We've had our hiccups, we had problems, and even had to have a joust at one point, and it was nothing but respect the entire time. When I was worried, and at any point it could have been, you know, shit canned. It could have been terrible. So that's another reason I want to put my faith into them again, with manifesting this in its proper best form, without the fat, and with a very clear purpose. And I think they'll do it great. I'm very excited to get a proof copy, right? But it wouldn't be that long. We should be able to ship by the end of the summer if we were able to fund, because there's not much production to do except for on their end to print them. I'm still waiting on the cover line art. That happens with artists. Anybody who works with artists, that will happen. And I need to work with this artist and that colorist. And so you have this give and take. And so I'm hoping at the latest we'll have a week to market the new cover, hopefully completed. Colors, logo, everything. That would be wonderful. I'd love to show folks that, and that could be the kick in the ass that we need to actually get this like blowing up. But nonetheless, we will have that cover done at least by the time the campaign finishes. Again, it should be before. It should be before. He said this week. It could be tomorrow. But it ain't today, and that's it's disappointing. But again, you work with the tools you have, and you make the room to manifest the work how it needs to manifest. That's been a thing. I really value time. Everything has lined up as it needed to, even though it was very difficult in a lot of cases. And there's something to be said about patience.
Very true, 100%, man. Yeah, patience is one of the best things you can have, not only in indie comics, just in life, man.
Exactly.
It's honestly a virtue to definitely cultivate. Now, something that I'd love to talk a little bit about here is the legendary rivalry between Jack Irons and Tracker. Like, we have Godzilla versus Kong, and then we have Tracker versus Jack. You know, I feel
Yes.
like that's the level of legendary we're getting here. Like, there's something just so iconic just looking at the two characters like on these panels here. You know what I mean?
So folks will see I do a lot of this in my writing, and I think people do it too. Is I'll take again another set of icons and turn it a little bit. This case, both directly and indirectly, because this was before I really got into a lot of the older westerns. But then, as I did the final version of issue 3 script, and we got through Maxi and such, this is the Lone Ranger and Tonto dynamic,
Mm-hmm.
and that cowboy Indian dynamic. That was very important for me to
Interesting.
communicate on multiple levels. Because there's that natural animosity which should be there. It's a very shitty history, very
Oh
shitty.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I grew up in it and alongside it and around it. It's personal to me on many levels.
Mm.
But that that they're more than that is something that I'm also trying to communicate, and people should get that by the end of this conflict, that it wasn't straight up him just coming up to kick Jack's ass. There was a purpose, there was a study, in all honesty, that was being done. And as we get into volume 2, 4, 5, and 6, issue 4, 5, and 6, you'll see why, how, and what that means for the future of not only Jack Iron Steel Cowboy as a series, but Ironverse Comics as a series. Tracker has had a 8-page mini sitting since issue 3. We're really
Just
hoping to hit that
waiting.
stretch goal, and we probably could have, but then that would have been less money I had to actually fulfill it, because I had
Mm.
terribly misbudgeted that campaign. I'm out on that campaign. I'm still
Okay.
I cut the ties. It hit 1400, 14K even, and it's like at 15K, they want you to report the taxes through them, and I had put an extra stretch goal there that I shouldn't have, because I couldn't
That's
afford it.
fair.
So I was just like, nope, we're cutting the baby right here. It's a nice even number. It's a good number of backers at 450. We'll work with what we got, and so far that has worked, and it was a smart decision on my
Yeah.
as far as I'm
Yeah, that
concerned.
makes a lot of sense, honestly. Yeah.
Instead of doubling down and digging myself a deeper hole is what it would have been. There was no way out of that hole with how costs were arranged, unless somebody had literally just given me money.
Which is always a fun idea, but not always a viable option.
Exactly. So we so that's what I did. But yeah, that rivalry is iconic. It's something important to Jack Iron is very American tale. It's about a melting pot. It's about a frontier. It's about finding a place and finding your own meaning, right, in the world, and in this case, in the galaxy in this case, it's putting those themes in there were very important. And so the native versus settler mentality, colonizer mentality, that needed to be in there in one form or another. And I wanted it to also communicate this inseparable connection, that though there might be this desire to make sure that there's a separation, that it's just illogical. And a lot of native philosophy comes from that inseparable connection to nature and to existence. And so that's part of the communication in this, and that dynamic, that it started off rocky. It moves towards something very beneficial to both of them,
Mm.
and as they grow and learn, they diverge. And then in issue 3, this conflict, it was time to bring that relationship back for a purpose. And I think by issue 6, people will understand that purpose. We'll see.
Well, yes. Well, it's interesting. You brought up you said the word study, like that. It makes me think. Of course, Trackers is really a very intelligent individual, and if Jack Irons is the immortal cowboy, perhaps he's been studying him and exploring him, and to get the advantage. Perhaps
Well,
he's a he just go.
Tracker, I mean, he's called the top predator. His
Yes.
goal, driving force as a character, and what will be in his series, when we're able to manifest it, is to be the most powerful force in the galaxy.
Wow.
The top predator thing. And there's a deeper level to that. It's not out of fear or anything. It's out of a sense of honestly what
Oh,
happens to a
I
lot of
get it.
dictators. You
Oh,
know,
really?
I know best. I'm the
Oh,
most powerful.
oh
And
wow.
there's a little bit of that to him,
Damn.
but it's different. Again, he's
Coming from a
we
better
need to
place,
communicate
perhaps.
it through the story, and we're going to
Hmm.
be working at that. Again, we got a little bit of time to communicate his current self. If we're able to
Okay.
advance the series, there's a very direct and important thing we need to communicate with him about why he studies and the purpose of being a top predator, the respect of a hunt, the respect of nature versus within a hunt, the respect of power within nature. There's a lot to explore with Tracker. All of our characters, there's very specific ideas driving them that oppose the Four Horsemen, and so we're working towards that right now. Though I wanted to present a villain that obviously could kick Jack's ass. I wanted to call Jack's bluff because from issue 1 and 2, you don't know he's an immortal cowboy. He's just some drunk at a bar from all the physical evidence you see. Maybe he knows a
Hmm.
little bit of history, but that doesn't tell anything. And even by the end of this, to be fair, you haven't seen modern Jack. I mean, issue 1, his bluff's called a little bit. You see he's skillful, right? And that he is wanted. He is known in that reality, and that they want to take him, and that there's a history, there's a list of things he's done, there's a mutation that he has, right? That's all listed from that cyborg, which is a part of the authority in their world. So you've got to put some stock in it. But even still, he's not wounded in that encounter. He's not. His bluff isn't called. With issue 3, he talks about his bluff being called, and you get to see it being called. But in the time frame that he's talking to the reader, talking to the drunk at the bar, you still haven't seen that. And we're going to tie back to that. That's how we get to space, is part of that. When we actually are making it into the team book, that's the transition. But
I love that. Yeah.
we haven't gotten there yet. I mean, we
You
have
gotta
all these,
get there.
we have the blueprints are there. Wonderful blueprints. Cactus Coyote, Dollar Coins, and myself have laid out the blueprints for a hell of a set of stories. But we need the time, the capability, and the support to make them. And this is another attempt to prove that we are worthy of that, and that we can give you something worthy of that.
And we know from previous talks that there's other characters out there who you could be joining Jack in space, from the Golden Monk to Cactus Coyote and a bunch of others. And so we know there's all these other stories out there. So the more that you support these main comics, the more likely that we'll get to see these other stories manifest at some point as well.
Yes, he and I have spoken a lot about how we need to do this, and it seems Jack's lifeblood is crowdfunding and this professional presentation in terms of the artistry and just the whole thing, right? The face of Ironverse Comics. Cactus Coyote, the work that he's been able to do has all been not all been a lot has been behind the scenes because the character's a little bit harder to get a foothold. Just because of the nature of the character's design and such. I mean, there's a lot of places it can get a foothold, and it's a wonderful tale. I recommend folks check out ironversecomics.com. Free read, Cactus Coyote, 42-page manga. Please check it out, because that is probably how we're going to continue to manifest Cactus Coyote. We've got a short that we have made and colored. I think it's a 12-page short that we are going to manifest one form or another. Always had the idea of an Ironverse anthology, which collects all 5 characters' first appearances. So it would be it would be Jack issue 1. It would be Cactus Coyote in that short. It would be Lady Silverado in her short, which is a really cool short. She explores the horsemen more because she is the child of a horseman.
Oh wow!
She's she's War's sword. She is War. The best way to explain her is she War in space. War on Earth. He couldn't grow any further with the power that was available to him. They're locked in a stalemate, and so he decided the best way to grow is to put something outside of him that would act outside of him and grow outside of him that he can reincorporate later to become stronger. That's Lady Silverado. She's her.
Oh wow!
She's her purpose. It's a very Gamora Thanos kind of dynamic.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, you're right. That's
But
I can see that dynamic. Yeah.
if Thanos was able to reabsorb her to gain
Mm-hmm.
power,
Well, yeah, that's the thing is it's like almost like it's in a way. I was thinking it's kind of like how a tree's offspring is kind of like an offshoot of their own, like kind of the whole group thing.
yeah,
But in a sense, you can absorb it back and take it back into you in
yeah,
that way.
yeah, and it's like that.
That's
The
interesting.
Golden Monk is an exploration of levity in all of this chaos, for one, but also
Mm.
of a core center of strength. And he's going to explore Eastern philosophy a little bit more as well, just so that we have, again, this melting pot. That's very important to Ironverse Comics. It's an American thing. It comes from that. The Old West was a mega melting pot, whether it was horrible or not. It had a lot of people who made it what it was, and that's a big part of what we're doing. And Tracker's tale is coming to terms with power, and however he decides to. So and then we get into space, and there's a much grander tale. Cactus Coyote is finding an identity, finding yourself, and then there's this really deep part about family that is so beautifully explored in the scripts I've read. We'll get there. It's just going to take. Right now, we're focusing on Jack. Because it's the face, it's the thing that folks have resonated with and connected that spawned this, and because it's an extremely important tale to tell as well. It's again, he is the micro of that melting pot, almost a direct icon of it, whereas these other bits are going to be shadows and variations on that. I just hope people continue to enjoy the work. And I really need more feedback on the work. So that's the other bit. I want more readers so I can get more feedback so I can communicate the ideas clearer and stronger. And so that's what we're working on.
Okay, so you'd be happy to get people coming back with their comments and their thoughts on the books.
Oh, absolutely. Please do. Always come to me, come to Wicked, whoever you can reach out to, and let me know what you're thinking about the reads. Good, bad, neutral. If it's
Ugly.
man, I'll reach out. But if it was man, let me know. Also, from the production standpoint, one of the things I'd like to do from issue 4 and on is maybe increase the font size ever so little. Things like that are important because we're dipping our toes in here. We dove head first and we're treading water, but we're learning to swim at the same time, right? And those are lessons to learn how to swim, and we very much like to be able to go back and forth in the pool delivering these books.
Yeah, man. As long as you can keep up above the water, I'm sure that would be the preferred method. No, that's excellent, man. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool what you guys have been able to manifest so far, and obviously it's like I was kind of thinking like if this is the beginning of your shared universe, you're doing it the right way. You're building your core story, you're building your core character, and any characters or stories that you want to bring on top are going to be built in and layered in as it goes in, and you're not just trying to rush things through or throw things together willy-nilly. You're really taking your time and building it like an architect. You're putting the pieces together really well.
That's been part of it. And again, this whole thing I've had to kind of let grow and then adjust as it does. It's a trip. I've seen a lot of other shared universes. Here's 5 books. They're all part of it. And then I don't see 2 of like 3 of them, right?
Right, yeah.
And so you're biting off too much. And I've always had that, like, this has been the goal since the beginning, since I was writing Jack. I wanted a heavy metal Justice League in a post-apocalyptic cowboy world.
Wow, that's awesome.
So working towards it, and it's becoming more of a heavy metal post-apocalyptic sci-fi One Piece, but the idea is similar. And honestly, it's going to be more and more kind of towards the One Piece spectrum than the superhero spectrum. More of
interesting, yeah.
Anti-authority and counterculture, and family, and opposing darkness and carving your own identity, all of that. And I think that's a great, a lot of the stories I say that inspire this are very arrogant to say I'm taking, I'm trying to homage. because they're very powerful tales. But we're trying to make one too, so you got to pick the right inspiration. Sure, I don't think we'll be able to get to 1,000 chapters like Oda. I don't think we're gonna, be able to do that on our schedule and our ability, and with how we're doing the work with the Western way of doing comics. I don't think it's possible. But I say we're, and that's the thing. I mean, me and what Ironverse Comics is currently. But you never know what the future holds. I've continuously reached out and found other wonderful talents to work with and help grow this thing. And at some point, I'd love the imprint to be working on 5 series at once and putting them out monthly. And if we can do that, then I mean, what? That's about 60 issues a year, and that makes a dent over time.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. And it's gonna take time, but you're doing it the right way, man. You're building it up, and so it's pretty awesome, man. And more and more eyes are just getting on it. So who knows? Like you said, who knows what will happen in the future with it?
Yeah, exactly. Just gotta keep it.
Exactly. Yeah. Very true. Yeah. Now, I got a cool question for you. Do you think there's any kind of cyberpunk elements in Jack Irons? Do you feel like there's anything like
Absolutely.
that?
Issue
Really?
4, man, super cyberpunk. Warhammer 40K kind of cyberpunk. So
Oh wow.
mysticism a little bit, more towards the holy machine than the tool machine. But the mechanics are the same.
Wow.
Brain chips, augmented body parts, all that kind of stuff. We're gonna work towards that as you dive. I mean, at the parting shot, second to last parting shot of third to last, or is that a? I think it's the third to last. It's the last page of Jack Irons. There's a Jack Irons issue 3. There's a big preview of that. So it's a mix of Cool World. I hope folks kind of notice that. A batshit cartoon, crazy idea. But then there's a giant in the back that is welded into a building. We're moving into Famine Inc. With issue 4 through 6. We're going straight into the heart of his particular corporate hell. And I explore a lot of transhumanism.
Yeah, I just picked up my issue. I had an issue 3 right next to me here, sitting at my desk here. I just picked that up, and man, that is one hell of a panel there, man.
Yeah, we needed it to be. That's what we tried to do with issue 2 also, and issue 1. We didn't do the big brave spread because I didn't know there'd ever be an issue 2, so we just kind of wanted to let them know, this is cool. There's a dead cyborg robot guy in the corner. Jack showed off, and it's not everything he's done. There's more to tell. Issue 2. Here's this new villain. Here's this icon that's instantly kind of recognizable as maybe a hunter or a caveman, a primitive expression, right? But he's got a bow and he's using sci-fi binoculars, so we put the twist on there. Issue 3, he's literally he says he's going to see if he can slip by Satan and get this done real quick. He's going into corporate hell. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to give you an introduction to Los Feminis, which is just an icon of excess and gluttony for Famine to just kind of whack off to mentally.
That's wild, man.
That's what he is. All of the horsemen are fueled by their aspects being boosted. So you'll see entire slave worlds that do nothing but move scraps of sharp metal from one point to another and then back.
Jesus.
For their entire existence, where he keeps them alive. I've written a short story that appeared in Ashcan Publishing called "Have a Wonderful Day," that explores the life of a Famine Inc. Worker, a child worker.
Oh wow!
Is what it is.
Where is that one? Is that one up? Something people can get out there still, or
it's on our Patreon.
Oh, nice!
For $1, you can look up the short stories.
Very nice.
I've put it out on Twitter a few different times. It's not a fun read. It is super depressing and dark
and man, for our purists, though,
this child, super happy to have a purpose and to be doing something, but his body is breaking and rebuilt, and he just
that would make a really fun
It's but I mean,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna say, I feel like it would make a really sick and twisted suicide and happiness, or what is it, cyanide and happiness, kind of, or like one of those weird twisted animated shorts. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could. It's somber and dark. Again, it's this pure soul that just is happy to exist, being taken advantage of. Again, when you're dealing with these horsemen, I have a very clear idea of what they are. A lot of there are symptoms of these things.
True.
So
Yeah.
you have all
Wow.
these things you can explore. And
Whew.
cyberpunk transhumanism, I see it as
That's
a
wild.
symptom. Now, it's not always dark. In fact, there's an amazing thing about being able to give somebody a new arm, right? When they've lost it, an amazing gift. But there's a darker core under it that I hope we never get to. And so that's what I explore. I make sure that's aware. That's what I'm exploring in that. The Borg in Star Trek, they explore that very deeply. It's the same idea. It's suddenly making the flesh, the individual, not worth anything by literally putting them into the machine. And so that's a thing. And so that's what that short explores. The other shorts I've done with their explore, the first one was our version of a werewolf, and then the third one was our sheriff hunting down that werewolf. So that's kind of fun little shorts, but that I really like. Have a Wonderful Day. It's an awful read in terms of like if you want a downer, man. I don't know if you do, but that's what that is. It's 100%.
Well, what's
about
that? What's the quote you always say about? It's I forget the first part, but it's the heroes are inevitable quote you for Jack Irons.
when reality belongs to evil, heroes are.
Right. So it's like it almost makes me think of like the whole Jack Irons universe as a whole. It's like you have these super dark elements, but then there's also it kind of balances with the really bright elements and the super you kind of have both elements kind of balance each other out.
So Warhammer 40K wallows in its darkness and it loves it. And then sometimes it'll sprinkle this little bit of hope or this little bit of goodness that's done. And then it makes a big impact. But then the next day, or even during that entire thing, there's billions of worlds suffering. It does. It's a drop in the bucket, right? With Ironverse Comics, it's that the pendulum will always swing back and forth. But if reality belonged to good, evil is inevitable. It would apply. That's not what we're exploring because currently in this day and age, it's harder to you can get lost in the darkness a lot very easily, even when it's not there, right? And so it's good to have a guidepost or this faith. And that's what it is. I mean, it's an admission of faith, is what that is. It's something good will come. It's going to happen. It cannot not happen. Yeah, that's what it is. Is that we have to contrast that, and so we try to hold a brighter torch, a happier, more loving, empathetic torch than 40K ever has. But it's a very similar grim, dark universe. The horrors, the evil is on par. If not, no, it's on par. I wouldn't say it's worse. In fact, 40K's got a couple aspects that we probably won't explore that are awful, very awful. But
well, it's definitely it's
hit this. We don't want to get into the sadomasochistic, sexual dark.
Right.
We don't want to get on that angle. We're not going erotic level of comics. We're definitely trying to stay like at worst really heavy One Piece with more heavy themes and maybe some grimmer depictions, a grimmer universe. And theirs is pretty grim, but it's still got all this hope, right? And that's the bit. We want to.
And that's the part that resonates with me. Is at the end of the day, is that there's that element of hope. It's something that I really enjoy, about Jack Irons.
Yeah, and that's what we tried to grow in this origin trilogy, is that you see like he's lost, but then he finds a reason to have the hope, so he reconnects with his people. And then his people actually led him to Tracker. And so then Tracker kicks him in the ass. Well, shit, why did he do that? And so he has an idea, and so you start to see this slight disconnect between the Jack in the past that is searching for Tracker and the Jack telling the tale. And then you start to kind of feel maybe the Jack telling the tale is more grown, is a little bit wiser. And you thought he was trying to lose himself in booze, but maybe he's just there to spread a folktale. right? I don't know. There's a lot of again, a lot of subtleties, dynamics in Jack Irons. I hope folks get half the kick out of I do.
Well, that's very awesome, man. I'm very hopeful for this campaign. I know it's already doing really well. Let me see if I can pull up the total here real quick. Just going to scroll through a few of the last pictures there.
Just below 4K unless some kind soul has kicked us above it.
Yeah, we're at 3,983 out of the 8,500 goal with 15 days left to go. So it doesn't give a percentage, but what is that? Would you say about percentage-wise?
I've got the percentage up here. It does if you like go into your dashboard for the
Interesting.
46%. I'd say it's probably more like 46.7.
Okay, nearing 50% mark.
220 backers to fund. So we're about halfway as it shows.
Yeah, very nice, man.
We have about half the campaign left. So again, we're on track by the skin of our teeth, which seems to be what we do. I would like more than that, but if we can just get it by the skin of our teeth, that's a beautiful gift.
Well, I'm hopeful for towards the end of the campaign. If it's anything like the last one, we'll see a lot of people flooding those last few days, and I'm sure there'll be a huge push towards the end. You know, in any good cowboy story needs to have the hero come at the last minute to save the day. So
exactly, that's been kind of how we work. So I don't want to expect it because I do want more, but
definitely.
I am so blessed if that's what happens. We've got 250 folks still signed up.
Nice.
So there's about 150 people who haven't backed.
A lot of potential there.
So exactly towards the end, which is at the beginning of June. It's about June 5th, June 4th, I think that night we'll finish. And of course, I'll be doing a long live stream, all that fun stuff. Definitely going to keep the hype up on this. Infinite potential in our little Galactic Armageddon here. And the more you folks put in, the more we can put out.
Well, that's excellent, man. Well, we really appreciate you sitting down to talk with us tonight, Cody. I think we'll go ahead and start wrapping up here and let folks get on with the nights here. But we really appreciate everyone who watched with us live. And if you're watching on the replay or some point down the line, we would definitely also appreciate that. I'm putting the link up here on the screen one more time. And so people can go check out the Kickstarter. It's currently, as we said, it's going for another 15 days. Like Indiegogo, there's no ability to extend. So this is it's all or nothing. So really hit that goal.
I didn't know that going in that I couldn't extend, or else I maybe would have put 45.
Oh, really? You weren't really? Oh, no.
Whispering in your ear, campaign's less than 30 days, make more money. So I don't know who to believe. So 35 days.
Hey, man. Well, it's a nice ratio there, a nice little in between. Yes. Well, that's awesome, man. And I'm very hopeful for you again. I'm sure you guys are going to make a great success with this. And of course, any excess, if you guys get over your limit here, it all goes back towards the book. Issue 4 and beyond. And so it's all about making Ironverse comics continue on going forward. So many more stories to tell and so many more places to explore. So we're very excited about it, man. And we're very happy for you and just honestly really just proud of what you've been able to accomplish, man. So
honestly, again, it's weave. If it wasn't for you folks, I have not, and you folks have known how my situation has gone over the years, I would not have been able to personally fulfill these books. And your assistance in issue 1 and 2 was unbelievable. Again, it's why a physical product exists, and that physical product resonates with people quite a lot more than just the idea of a digital. And I'm just so grateful. I'm very thankful to spend this time with you folks, work with you folks, and be able to put out this really cool story, if I can be a little humble, with you folks. It's a hell of a journey, and I'm excited to continue it, and however it goes. But it could go better always, and we need you folks to help us do it.
Yes, and we definitely, everyone appreciates everyone out there who backs the book. It really means a lot to us, honestly. So you guys, as much as Cody says, without us, he wouldn't be there. Without you guys, the readers, we nor Ironverse Comics would be here either. So you guys are obviously what makes this thing float. So
I unashamedly steal the PBS thing. We're made by viewers like you, by readers.
Hell yeah.
It's no question. That's crowdfunding, and it's a beautiful thing because it's such a direct communication, not only of the story but of the business and of the personal, the lives that are involved in this. It's a very cool thing.
Yeah, it really is, man. That's awesome. Well, I have to say, man, you're one of the best ever do it. You are a legend, Cody. You are a scholar, and we're really happy to just have you with us and amongst us. So thank you again for speaking with us tonight, and we wish you all luck on your campaign.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much.
And we'll see you all on another episode of the Campaign